Beneath the red sands of Mars, a silence had lasted for 10,000 years. It was a deep silence, older than cities, older than nations, older than memory. No wind touched this place. No life crawled through the dust. It was a dead zone, marked by warning signs and forgotten by time. But deep below, something waited. It began with a spark. A single pulse of light flickered in the dark, then another. Slow at first, like a heart waking from a long sleep. Wires long frozen began to hum. Circuits sealed in durasteel and ancient ceramic warmed with energy. The air, thick with dust and time, stirred. A chamber cracked open. Metal groaned as ancient bolts gave way. A column of pale blue light rose from the ground, cutting through rock and debris. And from within a figure sat up. He was tall, broad, but not heavy. His skin was pale, almost gray, threaded with faint silver lines like veins of metal. His eyes opened slowly. They were not human eyes. They shone like liquid mercury, reflecting light that wasn't there. He did not breathe. He did not blink. He simply was. His name was Eli. He did not remember everything at once. Memories came like waves, slow, then sudden. A lab, a war, a choice. A voice saying we need something that cannot fail. Then pain, then fire, then nothing. He stood. His body moved without effort. No joints creaked, no muscles strained. He was not a man, not anymore. He was something built, something made to endure. The room around him was in ruins, broken screens, shattered consoles, bones in old uniforms. He looked at them, not with sorrow, but with recognition. These were the ones who had sealed him away. Not enemies, not monsters, just people. Afraid. He stepped forward. The floor trembled, not because he was heavy, but because the ground itself felt his presence. Energy leaked from his body, small arcs of blue light dancing across his arms. He reached the wall, placed his hand on it, and the wall melted. Not burned, not broken. It simply turned to liquid and flowed aside like water. He walked through. The tunnel beyond was long, buried under kilometers of rock. But he did not need light. He did not need air. He moved forward, and the earth parted before him. Stone turned to dust. Steel turned to mist. He rose, not climbing, but pushing the world aside. When he finally broke the surface, the sun was high. Mars was quiet. A mining drone buzzed in the distance. A small outpost, domed and dull, sat 10 clicks away. No one saw him come out. No one heard the ground split. Eli stood on the red soil and looked up. Earth was a pale blue dot in the sky. He remembered it. Not just the planet, the smell of rain, the sound of children laughing, the feel of grass under bare feet. He had been born there, lived there, died there. But that life was gone. He had been a soldier once, not a hero, not a legend, just a man who signed up when the war came. Earth was losing. The Veln were too strong. They burned worlds like matches. They showed no mercy. So Earth made a last choice. They took volunteers. Men and women who would give up their bodies, their lives, to become something more. Something that could end the war. Eli had volunteered. He remembered the pain, the machines, the voice saying your mind will be preserved, your will, your memories, but your body will be changed. He remembered saying yes, and then fire, light, a wave of energy that crossed space and struck the Velen homeworld. One strike, one moment, and they were gone. Not defeated, erased. He had done his job, but when the war ended, no one knew what to do with him. He was too strong, too fast, too aware. He could see through lies. He could stop a bullet with his hand. He could end a fleet with a thought, so they buried him. They said it was for safekeeping. They said it was temporary, but they never came back. Now, 10,000 years later, he was awake, and something was wrong. He could feel it. Not in the air, not in the sky, but in the fabric of space itself. A shadow, a hunger, something moving in the outer dark. Something that had not been there before. He looked at the mining outpost. A signal pulsed from it. Weak, routine, sending data to Earth. He reached out, not with his hand, but with his mind. The signal bent, twisted, and flowed into him. He saw images, Earth, cities, ships in orbit, a council of species he did not know. Names like Zarn, Quillians, Concord, a galaxy at peace, or so they thought. But beneath the peace, there were cracks, old weapons being tested, borders being pushed, fleets growing. He closed his eyes and sent a message, not through radio, not through light, through the deep structure of space, a pulse. Simple. Clear. I am awake. I remember the war. I remember why I was made. The signal raced outward at speeds no ship could match. It crossed the solar system in seconds, reached Earth, reached the moon, reached the outer planets. On Earth, in a small lab in New Denver, a young woman named Lena jolted in her chair. She had been scanning Mars for seismic activity when the alert hit, a massive energy spike, deep underground. Growing fast. "Derek," she said, voice tight, "you need to see this." Derek, her mentor, shuffled over, coffee in hand. He squinted at the screen. "That's not natural," he said. "It's not. A volcano. Not a reactor. Look at the waveform. It's structured, like a heartbeat." Derek pulled up old files, military archives, forgotten projects. His fingers trembled as he typed. "Project Aegis," he whispered. "I thought it was a myth." "What was it?" "A weapon," he said. "Or a guardian. Depends who you ask. They made it during the Velen War, fused a human mind with a quantum core, gave it power beyond anything we've ever built, ended the war in one strike. And then? Then they buried it. Said it was too dangerous, too unpredictable. They didn't want a god walking among them." Lena stared at the screen. The signal was still rising. "What if it's real?" she asked. Before Derek could answer, the news broke. Mars Base 1 had gone dark. No distress call, no explosion, just silence. Then, from a relay satellite, a single audio transmission played across every network, every ship, every home system in the solar system. A voice, calm, deep, speaking in every language at once. "I am awake. I remember the war. I remember why I was made." People froze. Scientists dropped their tools. Leaders stared at screens. Children looked up from their games. In space, a Concord monitoring station near Proxima sent a frantic message. "Unknown energy source. Terrestrial origin. Power level off the scale. Repeat, off the scale." Then from Mars, a column of light shot into the sky. Not fire, not plasma. Pure white light, so bright it blinded sensors. And rising from it, slow and silent, was a figure. Tall, still, glowing faintly. He did not fly. He did not float. He simply ascended as if the world itself lifted him. He looked toward Earth and began to move. Not in a ship, not in a pod. He walked through space. Each step not on ground, but on the fabric of reality. Space bent around him. Stars dimmed as he passed. On Earth, panic spread. Governments called meetings. Fleets were armed. Evacuation plans were reviewed. But Eli did not attack. He entered orbit, circled the planet once, then descended. He landed in a dry valley in Nevada, where once there had been a secret lab, now only ruins remained. He stood there, motionless, for hours. No one approached, no one dared. Then, without warning, a voice filled the minds of every person on the planet. Not loud, not harsh, but clear, impossible to ignore. I was built to protect, not to conquer, not to rule, but to stop those who would destroy. Images flashed in people's thoughts. A war, a burning planet, ships falling from the sky, a child crying in the dark, then a single strike, a wave of light, a world vanishing. I did what I was made to do, the voice said, and then I was cast aside. Now, he could feel it again. The same hunger, the same threat, not from Earth, from beyond. The galaxy had forgotten war, but war had not forgotten the galaxy. Eli looked up at the stars and waited. In New Denver, Lena stood on her balcony, staring at the night sky. "He's real," she said. Derek nodded. "And he's not our enemy." "Then what is he?" Derek took a slow breath. "He's what we were afraid of becoming, and what we needed to survive." Far above, in orbit, a small silver light appeared. Not a satellite, not a star. It stayed in one place, always visible, always watching. The people began to call it the Watcher. But Eli did not care about names. He had one purpose, and as long as the threat remained, he would not sleep again. E-world did not end. No bombs fell, no fleets attacked. The sun rose the next morning just like any other. Birds sang, people went to work, children went to school, but everyone knew something had changed. He was out there, the man from Mars, the one who rose from the ground and walked through space, the one who spoke into their minds, the one who said he was built to protect. His name was Eli. No one knew what to do. Governments argued. Scientists ran tests. The military prepared plans they hoped they would never use. Some wanted to talk to him. Some wanted to destroy him. Others wanted to worship him. But Eli did not move. He stood in the Nevada desert where he had landed, still, silent, his silver eyes fixed on the sky. He did not eat. He did not sleep. He did not speak again. He just watched. In New Denver, Lena could not stop thinking about him. She had spent the night going through old files, Project Aegis, the Guardian program. Most of it was redacted, but she found a few lines, a few names, one photo, a young man in a military uniform. Eli Carter, age 29. Volunteered for Phase 3. Last known location, Mars. She showed it to Derek the next morning. "That's him," she said. "I know it." Derek looked at the picture, then at the live feed from Nevada, the man standing in the dust, the eyes, the stance. "Yeah," he said. "It's him." "What do we do?" "We try to understand him," Derek said. "Not fear him." So they did something no one else had thought to do. They sent a message, not through the military, not through the Global Council, just a simple broadcast from their lab. "Eli," Lena said into the mic. "My name is Lena. I'm a scientist on Earth. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, we remember you. We're sorry we forgot." She sent it once, then again, every hour, for 2 days. Nothing. Then, on the third morning, something happened. Eli turned, just slightly, not toward New Denver, but as if he had heard her, as if he had felt the words, and far above, in orbit, the small silver light flickered once. People saw it. Some thought it was a glitch. Others said it was a sign. But Lena knew. He had heard her. Meanwhile, the galaxy was watching. The Concord, a group of alien species who shared the stars in peace, had received the signal. They had seen the light from Mars. They had felt the pulse. In space, they did not understand it, but they feared it. On a station near Rigel, a council of elders met. The Zarn, with their scaled faces and cold eyes, spoke first. "This being is not natural. It erased the Veln without weapons, without ships. It must be contained." Aquilian, tall and pale, with eyes like glass, said nothing at first. Then, softly, "It is not evil. It is a guardian, like the ones from the old stories." "Stories do not destroy worlds," the Zarn replied. "No," said the Quillian, "but they protect them." The debate went on. Some wanted to send envoys, others wanted to send warships. In the end, they agreed on one thing: observe. Do not approach. Do not provoke. But not everyone in the galaxy followed the Concord. Deep in the outer dark, beyond the reach of most sensors, something stirred. The Zyran had been watching Earth for centuries. They were old. Older than the Concord. Older than most life. They did not speak. They did not trade. They only took. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had crushed many. But they had never faced anything like Eli, when they felt the pulse. From Mars, they knew. This was no ordinary being. So they sent a fleet, not to talk, not to watch, to test. Their ships were black, not painted. The metal absorbed light. They moved without engines, gliding through space like shadows. 10 of them, each one larger than a city, armed with weapons that could melt planets. They entered the solar system near Pluto. No warning, no signal, just silence. Earth's sensors picked them up fast. Alarms sounded. The Global Defense Council went into emergency mode. "Unknown vessels," a commander said. "No markings, no comms. They're moving toward Earth." The president called the military. "Prepare for attack." But before anyone could act, Eli moved. He did not run. He did not fly. He simply vanished from the desert and reappeared in space. He stood between Earth and the approaching fleet. The Zyron ships stopped. Then, one of them fired. A beam of dark energy thick as a mountain shot toward him. It moved at near light speed. It had destroyed entire fleets before. Eli raised his hand. The beam stopped. Not blocked. Not reflected. Stopped. It hung in space, frozen like a snake caught in ice. Then, slowly, it began to shrink, to twist, to unravel. And then it was gone. The Zyran fired again, and again. 10 beams. All stopped, all undone. Then Eli stepped forward, not fast, not slow. Each step bent space around him. He reached the first ship, touched it, and it melted, not exploded, not burned. The metal turned to dust. The crew vanished. The power core faded like a dying star. One by one, the ships fell. In 7 seconds, all 10 were gone, not destroyed, erased. Back on Earth, people watched the feeds in shock. No sound, no flash, just silence. And then the ships were not there. In New Denver, Lena cried. Not from fear, from awe. Derek put a hand on her shoulder. He's not a weapon, he said. He's a warning. Then, from space, Eli sent another pulse. This one traveled faster, deeper. It went through subspace, touching every corner of the galaxy. And wherever there was a Zyran ship, a Zyran base, a Zyran mind, it ended. Not in fire, not in war. In silence. 1,000 ships, 100 outposts, millions of beings, gone. Not killed, unmade. The galaxy felt it. A sudden emptiness. A hole in the dark. The Concorde went into emergency session. He didn't just destroy them, a scientist said. He removed them from existence, like they never were. Can he do that to us? Someone asked. If he wants to, came the reply. But Eli did not move toward any other world. He returned to his place near Earth, still, silent, watching. Days passed, then weeks. No one attacked. No one approached. The Concorde sent a message. Peaceful, cautious, asking for contact. Eli did not reply, but he did not attack either. On Earth, people began to change. They stopped building warships. They ended old conflicts. Nations worked together, like never before. Children learned about Eli in school. Not as a soldier, not as a machine, but as a reminder. We made him, a teacher said, because we were afraid. And then we buried him, because we were afraid of what we made. Is he still angry? A child asked. I don't think so, the teacher said. I think he's just waiting, in case we need him again. In New Denver, Lena and Derek kept studying. They found more files, more pieces of the truth. Eli had not wanted to be the guardian. He had volunteered because he believed in protecting life, not destroying it. And when the war ended, he had asked to be deactivated, but they didn't trust him, so they buried him. We were wrong, Lena said. We were scared, Derek said, and fear makes people do stupid things. One night, Lena went outside. She looked up at the sky. There it was, the small silver light, always in the same place. She smiled. Thank you, she whispered. Far above, the light did not move. But for the first time, it glowed a little brighter. And deep in space, where the stars were thin and the dark was thick, other eyes watched. They had seen what Eli could do, and they knew. Earth was not weak. Earth had a guardian, and he was all. The years passed slowly on Earth. Cities grew quieter. Skies cleared. Wars that had burned for decades ended with a single handshake. People looked up more, not just at clouds or birds, but at the stars, and at one small silver light that never moved. Eli was still there, in orbit, watching, waiting, not speaking, not moving, just being. No one approached him. No ship got closer than 1,000 kilometers. The Global Council had made it law. The Concorde had agreed. Do not provoke the Guardian, but not everyone obeyed. In the outer rim, beyond the reach of human colonies, a species called the Krail, had watched the Zyron vanish. They had seen the pulse, felt the silence, and they were not afraid. They were curious. The Krail were traders, not warriors. They moved from system to system, selling tech, medicine, old data. They had no army, no weapons of mass destruction. They believed in profit, not power. So when they heard of Eli, they saw a chance. A being of such power, their leader said. Surely it needs something. Fuel, data, repair. We can offer it. Others warned him. It erased the Zyron without lifting a finger. Then we will not provoke it, the leader said. We will serve it. So they came, not with weapons, not with shields, with gifts, a small ship, no weapons, no stealth, painted white with a symbol of peace. They carried tools, medical tech, ancient books, even seeds from 100 worlds. They entered the solar system slowly, sent a message in every known language. We come in peace. We bring knowledge. We mean no harm. On Earth, alarms sounded again. The Defense Council met. Some wanted to turn them away. Some wanted to destroy them. But Lena spoke up. They're not a threat. They're offering help. Maybe Eli needs it. Derek shook his head. He doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, doesn't talk. What could he need? Maybe nothing, Lena said. But maybe he just needs to know someone isn't afraid of him. So they let the ship pass. It moved toward the silver light. When it got within 500 kilometers, it stopped and waited for 3 days. Nothing happened. Then, on the 4th morning, the silver light shifted, just slightly. The Krail ship trembled, not from force, from energy. A wave passed over it, gentle, like a breath. Then a voice, not in words, not in sound, but in thought. Why have you come? The Krail captain felt it in his mind. Clear, calm, not angry, not kind, just real. He answered the only way he could. Through a neural link. We bring gifts, knowledge, peace. We wish to serve. Serve? Yes. You are powerful, wise. We wish to learn, to help. A long silence. Then, I do not need your gifts. The captain's heart sank, but Eli added, but I accept your peace. And with that, the wave faded. The ship was unharmed. The gifts untouched. But the message was clear. He was not their master. He was not their enemy. He was their warning. The Krail left, but they told others. Traders, scientists, explorers. Word spread. The guardian of Earth was not a monster, but he was not to be tested. Back on Earth, life kept changing. Cities turned green, oceans healed, people talked more, fought less. Schools taught not just math and science, but empathy. History. The Cost of Fear. Lena and Derek wrote a book, The Truth About Eli. It told the story of Project Aegis, of the war, of the burial, of the awakening. People read it. Some cried. Some were angry. Most were quiet. We did wrong, one man said on a broadcast. We built him to save us. Then we locked him away because we were scared of what he could do. That's not strength. That's weakness. Children drew pictures of Eli, not with guns, not with fire, but standing on a hill, arms open, protecting the world. One girl wrote a letter. Dear Eli, it said, I'm 8. I live in Chicago, I hope. You're not lonely. I look for you every night. You're the reason we don't fight anymore. Thank you. She sent it up with a weather balloon. It never reached orbit. But that night the silver light blinked once, like a wink. Derek saw it. You think he knows? I think he sees everything, Lena said. Meanwhile, in the deep void, another species watched, the Virex. They were not like the Zyran, not conquerors, not destroyers. They were watchers, silent, patient. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had never interfered. But Eli was different. He was not natural, not machine, not God, but something in between. So they sent a probe, small, invisible, made of dark matter. It slipped into the solar system undetected, moved toward Eli. It did not speak, did not signal. It only observed. It scanned him, his energy, his structure, his mind. What it found shocked them. Eli was not just a weapon, he was a lock, buried in his. Core was a code, a quantum seal. And inside it, a weapon far older than the Veln, older than the galaxy. The Virex called it the End, a device built by a long-dead race, designed to erase entire timelines, to stop wars before they began. It had been lost, hidden. Until Earth's scientists found it, they could not use it, but they could bind it to a mind, a will, a conscience. They chose Eli, not just to fight, but to hold the end. And as long as he lived, as long as he chose peace, the weapon would not fire. But if Earth was ever truly threatened, beyond saving, beyond hope, then Eli would release it, and the galaxy would blink out, like a light turned off. The Virex probe sent this data home, and the Virex did something they had never done before. They bowed. Not in worship, in respect, because they understood now. Eli was not a threat. He was a balance, single point of control in a universe of chaos. And Earth was not powerful because of its ships or its people. Earth was powerful because it had someone who refused to use ultimate power. On Earth, no one knew this, but deep down, people felt it. They lived differently, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They planted trees, helped neighbors, forgave old enemies. They looked up at the silver light and felt not fear, but pride. One night, Lena stood outside her house, Derek beside her. "Do you think he'll ever speak again?" she asked. "Maybe not," Derek said. "But maybe he doesn't need to. I wonder if he's happy." Derek smiled. "I think he's at peace. He's doing what he was made for. Not fighting, not destroying, just being ready." Above them, the silver light shone steady. Then, for the first time, it moved. Not far, just a few meters, as if shifting position, as if saying, "I am here." And in that moment, across the planet, millions looked up, not because of an alarm, not because of fear, but because they felt it. The Guardian was watching, and as long as he was, they could keep building a better world. Because they knew now, the greatest power was not in weapons, not in ships, not in war. It was in the choice to protect, and Earth had made that choice when it gave the world Eli. T was not like the Krails, not small, not white. It was long and dark, shaped like a blade, no markings, no signals. It moved slowly through the outer solar system, silent and careful. On board, 5 beings sat in stillness. They were the Rin, a species old and quiet. They had no wars, no cities. They lived on floating islands in the clouds of a gas giant. They spoke without sound, shared thoughts through light. They had watched Eli for years, not with fear, not with greed, with sadness, because they knew what he was. Not just a guardian, a prisoner. They had once tried to make one of their own, long ago. A mind fused with power, to protect their world. But it went wrong. The being woke, and in its pain, it destroyed their moon, killed millions. So they ended it. They did not want that to happen again. So they came to Earth not to test, not to trade, but to help. Their ship stopped near Mars. They sent a message, not to Earth, not to the Council, to Eli. They used an old frequency, one tied to quantum thought, one only a being like him might feel. We know what you carry. We know what you are. You are not alone. For days, no reply. Then one still night, the silver light in orbit shifted, not toward them, but it pulsed. Once, a signal. Go on. The Rin sent more. You hold the end. It was not your choice, but you bear it. We can help you rest. A long silence. Then, in the mind of the Rhine leader, a voice. Rest is not my purpose. I am awake to protect. If I sleep, the balance breaks. If the end wakes, all dies. The Rin felt the weight of his words, not pride, not anger, duty. He was not trapped by chains. He was held by choice. They sent one last message. Then we will stand with you, not as masters, not as enemies, as witnesses. So you are never forgotten again. And they stayed. Their ship parked near Jupiter's orbit. Quiet. Still. Not a threat, just a presence, and Earth never knew they were there. Back on the surface, life kept moving. Lena and Derek had grown older. Their hair was gray, their steps slower. But their work never stopped. They taught. They wrote. They spoke at schools and stations. Eli is not a weapon, Lena would say. He is a promise that we can do better. We made him in fear, Derek would add. But he stayed because of hope. One day, a young man came to their lab. His name was Jake. He had grown up with stories of Eli, had seen the silver light every night since he was born. I want to help him, Jake said. How? Lena asked. I don't know. Maybe build a way to talk to him. Not through machines, through mind, like the Rin. Derek smiled. That's been tried, but not by someone who grew up knowing he was there, Jake said. Not by someone who sees him as a protector, not a monster. So they let him try. Jake worked for months. He studied old Project Aegis files, brainwaves, quantum links. He built a small device, not to control, not to harm, to connect. He called it the bridge. He took it to the Nevada desert, to the place where Eli had first stood. He turned it on. Nothing happened. He sat there for 3 days. No food, no sleep. Just waiting. On the 4th night, the wind died. The stars seemed to stop moving, and Jake felt it. A presence, not in the air, in his mind. Why do you seek me? Jake's breath caught. I want to understand you, he said out loud. I am not hard to understand. Then why don't you talk to us? I speak when needed, but we miss you. We feel you're alone. I am not alone. Then what are you? A guard, a memory, a line between peace and ruin. Jake felt tears. Can I help? You already do. How? By living well. by choosing kindness, by not becoming what I was made to destroy. Jake sat in silence. Then, softly, "Thank you." And the presence faded. But the next night, when Jake looked up, the silver light shone directly on the desert, on him, just for a moment, then back to its place. He ran back to the lab. "He saw me," he said. "He saw me." Lena smiled. "He sees all of us." Meanwhile, far beyond the stars, a new signal spread, not from Earth, from the Concord. They had watched long enough. They called a gathering. Species from 100 worlds came. Zarn, Quillian, Krail. Even the Virex sent a sign of respect. They met on a neutral station near Sirius. The topic was simple: Earth and the Guardian. Some feared him. Some admired him. Some wanted to learn from him. In the end, they passed a law. The Aegis Accord. No ship may approach Earth within 10 light minutes without consent. No weapon may be aimed at Earth. Any species that breaks this will be cut off from the Concord. Forever. They did not do it out of fear. They did it out of respect, because Earth had something no other world had. Not power, not tech. A being who held the end of all things and chose to do nothing. Back on Earth, the news was quiet. No celebration, no parade, but in schools, in homes, in cities. People smiled. They looked up, and the silver light was there. One night, Derek sat on his porch, Lena beside him. "Do you think he'll ever leave?" she asked. "No," Derek said. "He has a job." "Do you think he regrets it?" "I don't know, but I think he knows it matters." A shooting star passed, but it wasn't a star. It was the Wren ship, moving slightly, a small light in the dark. Derek saw it. "Someone's watching over the Watcher." "Good," Lena said. "He shouldn't be alone." Far above, Eli stood in silence. His mind stretched across space. He felt the Rin, the Concord, the quiet of Earth. He felt Jake's hope, Lena's care, Derek's wisdom. He felt the children who waved at the sky, and he felt the dark beyond, waiting, hungry, but not strong enough. Not yet. He would be ready. He always was. He did not move. He did not speak. But in the quiet of space, his presence said everything. "I am here. I remember. I protect." And as long as the silver light stayed in the sky, Earth was not just a world. It was a warning, a promise, and a home. The sun rose over New Denver like it had every morning for 1,000 years. Birds called. Wind moved through the trees. A boy named Paul rode his bike down the street with a bag of papers slung over his shoulder. Life was quiet. Life was calm. Life was kind. Above him, the silver light shone faint in the daylight sky. Paul looked up as he passed Lena's old house. The garden was overgrown now. She had passed 2 winters ago. Derek had followed not long after. But their lab still stood. A small museum now. A place for kids to learn. Paul stopped and went inside. He had read their books, watched their videos, heard the stories. The Guardian. Eli. The man who never slept, who never left, who saved them all. He sat in front of the old screen and pressed play. A younger Lena smiled at the camera. "Eli was not made to be feared," she said. "He was made to be remembered. He gave up everything so we could have a chance, not just to live, but to do better." Paul nodded. He believed it. He left the lab and kept delivering papers. That night, he stood on his roof and looked up. The silver light was clear, bright, still. "Hi, Eli," he said, like he did every night. "It's me again. Paul. Another day done. No wars, no fights, just school and bikes and helping Mom. I hope that's okay." He didn't expect an answer, but for the first time, the light moved. Not much, just a small shift. Then, a soft pulse, like a heartbeat. Paul gasped. He ran inside and told his mom. She smiled and hugged him. "Maybe he heard you." "Do you think he knows us?" Paul asked. "I think he knows everyone," she said. "He's been watching for a long time." Far above, Eli stood in the silent dark. He had felt Paul's words, not through sound, not through tech. Through the quiet space between minds, he had felt Lena's hope, Derek's wisdom, Jake's courage, the Rin's respect, and now Paul's simple wish to be good. He did not smile. He did not cry. But something in his core softened. Not broken, not changed, just seen. For 10,000 years, he had been a weapon, then a prisoner, then a myth, then a guardian. But now, at last, he was something else. He was known, not feared, not worshipped, understood. And that mattered. Because protection was not just about stopping attacks. It was about giving people the chance to grow, to learn, to choose peace on their own. And Earth had done that. No fleets, no empires, no wars in decades. Children learned about empathy. Leaders worked together. Even the old borders had faded. The Concord still watched. Species still kept their distance. The Aegis Accord held strong, but it was not fear that kept the peace. It was respect. Respect for the world that had a guardian, and respect for the guardian who did nothing. Because doing nothing was the hardest thing of all. One night, a small probe drifted into the solar system. It was old, broken, covered in dust. It came from a dead world. The people who built it were gone, wiped out by their own war. Their last act was to send this probe into the void. On it, a single message. We're not ready. We forgot how to care. We destroyed ourselves. If anyone finds this, do better. The probe passed Jupiter, Mars, then Earth. Eli saw it. He reached out, not with his hand, with his will. The probe stopped, floated in space. He read the message, not just the words, the pain behind them, the regret, the hope. Then he did something no one expected. He sent a reply. Not to the dead, to the living. A pulse. Soft, wide. Not through subspace. Through heart, every person on Earth felt it. Not in their ears, in their chest. A warmth. A sadness, a call. Do better. That was all. 2 words. But they spread fast. Schools taught them. Artists painted them. Leaders spoke them. Do better became more than a phrase. It became a way of life. Paul wrote it on his notebook. Jake carved it into a tree near the desert. A new statue was built in New Denver, not of Eli. Not of Lena or Derek, of a hand, open, holding a small green plant. Under it, the words, "We are still learning. Do better." Years passed. Paul grew up, became a teacher, told the story of Eli to his class. "He didn't save us with fire," he said. "He saved us with stillness. With waiting." with choosing not to act. A girl raised her hand. Do you think he's proud of us? Paul looked out the window. The silver light was there. I think, he said, he's just glad we're trying. In the void, the Rin still watched. Their ship aged. Their people changed. But they stayed. Because the Guardian was not just Earth's. He was the galaxy's reminder that power is not in destruction, but in control. That the strongest force is not a weapon, but a choice. And one night, after 100 years of silence, Eli moved. Not far. He shifted his position, just enough to see the whole Earth. Then, he sent one last pulse. Not to the Concord, not to the stars, to the planet below. A wave of calm, of peace, of quiet strength. Every person felt it. Some stopped and looked up, some cried, some smiled, and for a moment, the whole world stood still. Not in fear, in unity, because they knew they were not alone. They had a guardian, and he had never left. He never would, because as long as there was a chance for peace, as long as one child looked up and said, "Hi, Eli," as long as someone chose to do better, he would be there, watching, waiting, protecting, not with fire, not with war, but with presence. And the galaxy, vast and cold and old, learned a new truth. Earth was not powerful because of its guardian. Earth was powerful because it deserved him. And above it all, the silver light burned on, steady, silent, sure. A star that was not a star, a man who was not a man, a promise that never broke, and the lost guardian of Earth remained awake, forever. Web Dev Image, Generation Video Generation Artifacts.